keep up to date with our latest videos, please hit the button below. Hi there, Chris here from footballbetdata.com. With this video today, at the request of quite a few members actually who have asked us if we are able to show you how you can use our data outputs to be used in play to potentially look for value situations that might occur during matches. So it's pretty simple actually, because we provide all of this for you, and it's just knitting it together and taking the base information that we provide you and the example download, which I'll show you in a minute, knitting the two together, putting a bit of extra manipulation in, and then you can very easily detail what has happened in games of a certain makeup. So the requests we've had that have come in have been for slightly different purposes. Some have wanted to see what the likelihood is of a team, a home win where a team scores in the first half an hour, and they're an odds-on favourite. Others have wanted to look at it in terms of whether a game will finish with over or under 2.5 goals. We've had some that have asked about over 4.5 goals. So essentially it's the same principle, the same thing that's being requested as to how people can use the data specifically to a league, and with a parameter, whether that be odds markets or score prediction, whatever it might be, to then use that and then input scenarios for them to analyse what odds are being offered during the course of a game to see if it's deemed to be value or not. So I'm going to show you how to do it. It's fairly simple, honestly. So I'll take you through the video, and I'll take you through it in enough detail that should allow you to be able to go off and create this and replicate it yourself with your own tweaks and tailoring of that data to make it work for you in the ways you need it to do. And obviously you can tidy it up and tart it up and make it look as fancy as you need it to be. So first thing we need to do is go to the example downloads. Now this file is accessible to everybody and anybody. It is a completely free file, and it's available on the export example download export page. I'm just going to open that one up. So that is pre-populated with data, so I am going to take that out in a second. And then the next thing to do is go to our back to the web page and export from our fixtures and results page. So hop back here. Couldn't get my words out there, but it's one of those Mondays. Fixtures and results. So let's focus on the English leagues, the English full-time leagues. So we've got the Premier, Championship, League One, League Two, and we're going to go back over 5 seasons. Now, obviously, you can export more if you want to, or less, depending on what your preference is. And obviously, bear in mind that the Betfair odds that will be in this output were only added in July 2022. So we've got about 18 months worth of Betfair odds. Obviously before that, and including onwards from that stage as well, we've still got the ongoing average bookmaker odds. But if it's Betfair odds you're interested in, then obviously these seasons prior to 2022, middle of 2022, won't have that in there. Now let's export that information to Excel. So like I said, we've got 5 or 4.5, 4 and a bit seasons worth. However far back you want to go, that's entirely up to you for your analysis. Obviously, the more data you've got in there, the more games that you'll see in your scenarios that you create. So we've got the export created here. I'm just going to open that one up. Here we go. So this is the export of all the games that we've had that meet our criteria. So being the 4 English leagues for the past 4 and a bit seasons. I'm just going to copy all of this information and paste it into our example download file, the sequence file. So we can paste that in. Now that is all the headers are already aligned. I haven't had to do anything there. I've literally pasted that information in. And then what we need to do is add in the goal time. So I'm just going to scroll to the bottom here just so you can see all of those games. And actually we can take out the games that are not yet played. So if we scroll down here, delete, just change the format here. So it's back as a date, not that it really matters. It's not going to be used. Now, one thing I want to do is just convert these injury time goals from a plus to a point. So if we do Control F, or we can go find and select, and what we're looking for in these columns is the plus, and we're going to just replace it with a decimal point or full stop. That makes using these goal times much more much friendlier to use when you're manipulating in Excel. So a 90.7, if there were 2 goals in injury time, which does happen, if you had a 90.7 and you had a 90.3, without converting it, the figure wouldn't transpose as a number, so you had no way of knowing which of those goals were scored first. For what we're going to do here, it doesn't really matter, but it could be a scenario that you want to look at, and there's 2 goals in the game, both of them in injury time, and you want to differentiate between who scored first, who scored second. So converting the plus, which is visually appealing and makes sense when you're looking at outputs, to a decimal makes that a number that you can actually do something with. So we have our goal times, home and away. Now we're just going to create 2 sheets here. I'm going to rename them home times and away times. And what we want to do is create, or we've already got it in here, but we want to input the times of those goals. So you can do this using formula. So I'm not going to confuse you too much in this video by talking about text before and text after, because there are some people that won't have the latest version of Excel, so that formula would not be available. So I'm going to do it the simple way, the old-fashioned way, if you like. And there are probably numerous ways that you could do this within Excel using a bit of formula if you wanted to split out, because obviously you've got spaces between the goal times. You can use that as a unique reference or a hook. So there is ways to do that in a formula, but I'm doing it as a one-off, so I can do it this way, which is copying the home times into here. Just going to clear those top row, and then what we want to do is go to Data and Text to Columns. And we want to split this out as a delimited, and we want to use space as the delimiter. So that splits out these goal times into columns, and I'm going to go 12 across. So you can see in that box up here, focus on that box, you can see I'm on 12 columns, and I can do Shift, Control and down. That copies all of that data. And we're going to go back to the goal time split out, so you can see home team. And we can paste this in into here. So you have the goal times split out there, 17, 24, 85 in that top game. First goal, second goal, third goal. Okay. Now we want to do the same with the away goals. So we paste this in and clear that out. And we want to do data, text to columns, delimited, and tab and space. And we can do the same, go 12 columns across. Now you can obviously extend that. I'm obviously making the assumption that teams don't score more than 12 goals in a game, which would be very rare for a league game of any standard. Paste those in, and we have our goal time data now available in there, split out by each individual goal. So that's what we want in there. Now, the next thing we want to do is look at the times that goals were scored. So we can ignore this. This shows you how the goals went in. This is a default already built in, and the formula's already there. But we want to add in a little bit more, and we want to say score at and score at. Let's put away and home just so these two don't get confused. And then we want to say score. So we can delete these 2 tabs off now, not needed. And we're going to add a new one in, which is our analysis. This is where we start building up the data. Okay. Now, like I said, the queries we've been getting have been around how can we look at game state? So how a game progresses and what the likelihood is using historic data to examine if a team is ranked in this bracket and the score is X and the time is Y. How often does that game end in a home win? How often does it end in a draw? How often does it end with over 2.5 goals? Whatever it may be, like I said, we've had various different types of inquiry all centralized around the same thing, which is creating this sort of in-play model, if you like. So we have the score at minute X. Just put that in there so it's clear. And then we want to say minutes played. And then we can use whatever factor it is that we want as a preset before the game. So it could be score prediction, but let's just put bookmaker over 2.5 minimum, bookmaker over 2.5 max. Okay. So let's pick a league. Let's use the English Premiership. And then let's say we want to look at games that are 1-0 after 30 minutes. Okay, now obviously the raw data we've got, you can check the halftime score because that is already in the outputs. We have the halftime result in there. What we don't have in there is a minute by minute breakdown, but what I've already started doing by converting these out and putting some columns in that we're going to use as helper columns will allow us to calculate that fairly easily. Now let's just say we're looking for games where the over 2.5 market is set as a minimum of 2 and the maximum of 2.6. So I'm just picking random figures here. You can put whatever you want in there. It could be that you use score prediction, it could be you use home team odds, whatever it may be. We're just using over 2.5 for the purpose of this video. What we want to do then is we've already identified here the minutes played, and these are going to be fields that are customizable to yourself. But I'm showing you how you can build these and you can adapt it how you need to. We want to start populating these columns here. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to do a count if. So we want to use this formula, and then we want to look at these columns in this row. So we want to say count if that is less than, and let's bracket it, less than, because we're going to reference a cell. You need to do less than and the @ sign, and we want to say 30 minutes. Okay, so what it's saying here is under the 30-minute mark. Now you can obviously put in equals if you want it to be less than or equal to the score. The home team had scored 2 goals, and you can see 17 and 24 minutes. That is correct. And then we can copy and do the same for the away team, or you can rewrite the formula, but the easiest way is just to do this, and you can move your little bar across. So you can see that there's 1 away goal, that was the 7th minute, and then we can use the concatenate function, and text 1 is that. Then we can put a space, hyphen space to separate it out and the away team. So you can see there we've already got and built up the score based on the time in the game. Most of these showing as 0-0. That's not actually correct there, is it? So let me just have a look. It should be 0-1. Let me just make sure that I've got my refresh on. Automatic. Yeah. Why is that not showing as? I'll tell you why it is. I've already spotted my flaw. I've not hard coded in that cell. Like I said, it's been a bit of a tiring Monday. Now let's put it in. That's why they're all showing as 0-0. Just calculating. There we go. So we have the 1-0. I'm sure people had spotted that way before me and were shouting at their screen. So the game below, 1-0. First goal was scored 18th minute, was the only goal in that instance. So the score at the 30-minute mark was 1-0 or 0-1. Let's change it to 20 so we can go back in, and you can see how these scores now dynamically change just by me controlling it from in here. 45 minutes, and you can see it's gone to 2-2. So you can see that those now interact. You've created the formula and the references, so that's all we need to do in there. We've already set the league, we've set the score that we want it to look for, so we haven't specified anything at that point apart from the minutes played. But this is how you can start building your database. Now, again, with Excel, there are always numerous ways in which you can do things. You can use pivot tables and extra references. I'm just going to use formula for this, which is probably the easiest way for somebody as a novice to learn and then adapt as necessary. So we're going to use this game state as our reference. So what we're going to use again is countifs. Now this is pretty simple stuff just to build up. You're just building up nesting within your formula. So we're going to look at the range and we're going to look at the score. Now it's important to freeze these columns, so if we're dragging stuff around or using it elsewhere, they don't move dynamically. So using that $sign in front of any column or row references freezes those. So if you can drag it, it won't change those cell references. So we want to say what was the score, and that was the score we want to use. Now this is where we put in the $, because we're using a fixed cell reference rather than a column. And then we want to look at column D, which is the league. So again, let's put these dollars, and you can do this using F4 as well, depending on your shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts. So we want to say the league is the English Premier League. And then we want to look at odds. So we've already specified here that it's the over under 2.5. So we're going to use the bookmaker, which is the average, like I said, Betfair available from June 2022. So you can start, as this season completes, we'll have pretty much 2 full seasons in there. But as it is, we're going to use the bookmaker odds as our guide here, average bookmaker odds. And then what we're going to do is say is greater than or equal to, because these are the parameters we're using. And we're going to say greater than or equal to 2. So we're going to find all bookmaker odds over evens as parameter 1. And then parameter 2 is using the same column. We'll freeze that one. And then the criteria here is less than or equals to @ the maximum odds, and we can freeze that as well. Okay, so we have that now. That's how many games we have where the score at the minutes played here was 1-0. The league was the English Premier League. The bookmaker over 2.5 odds, average odds, were a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 2.6, 89 games across those 4 and a bit seasons. So what do we want to look at? So we can say home win, draw, away for starters. And we can copy this formula because we already have the basis in there, but we just want to add another layer to that. And if we go to the end, we can tab through those and we can say the result was, and we freeze that column. And the result was, you can put a H, but I'm going to just do a reference so I can drag this across. So you can freeze the row there. Not quite got that right, have I? Let me just tab back down. Criteria range is I. For some reason we had a quotation marks around that. Analysis is K2, and there's 55 home wins. We drag that over, 21 draws, no away wins. So that doesn't quite sum. Let me just see what I've done wrong there. So that should tally with 89, unless we've got some results in here that are still blank. Thought I took all of those out, which it looks like I have. It's going to be something pretty obvious in here then that I've missed. Let me just reconvene what I've done. So we've got DI. So even me, I'm a seasoned Excel user. I need to double check my workings. So we're looking for scores that are 1-0. English League, Premier League. Average odds are greater than or equal to 2. I've probably missed off a $sign somewhere, and that's what it is. I need the $sign back in there. And again, there's people probably screaming at their device. Now let's drag it across. But there you go, that's the ready reckoner for you. So 89 games you can see down the bottom. So that didn't add up, so I knew that something was wrong straight away. So you can see of the makeup that we've made here, these are the outcomes that we've had historically. And 89 is a fairly significant amount of games, and it's up to you what you decided your cutoff. Now, obviously, if that was 3, then it's pretty insignificant in terms of a sample size. Then what we're going to do is apply the odds to get the to get the odds. We're going to apply the percentage. So we're going to fix it in on cell I2. So it's a simple division of that by that. It gives us a percentage historically, and that should add up to 100 as it does. And from there, we can calculate the true odds. You just do a 1 divided by and scroll it over. So 1.62. So using this non-existent system, but this example, you know, this was the criteria you're looking for. Let's change it to 30 minutes. And those sums automatically calculate. So if your interest was looking for games where the bookmaker odds were over 2, but equal to or less than 2.6 as an average pre-kickoff, the home team had gone 1-0 up after 30 minutes. At the 30-minute mark, what are the historic odds of, or likelihood of the match finishing in a home win, a draw, and away win? That's how you calculate it. Really straightforward. Now let's have a look at the overs as well. So we can do very simple and very much the same as what we've done. And again, you can add in here an unlimited amount if you wanted to put the home odds as your filter, as your differentiator. You can add that in. Score predictions, whatever it may be, you can add those in because we've all got them in the data here. So you've created a database essentially. Now you can use any one of these as your filter controls, or any combination of. I'm just, you know, the video would go on forever and ever if I was to show every single permutation of what we're looking for. Okay, so let's use this base calculation here. So we've got 80, 80, that matches. So we want to see how many. Now this should be 100% here because we're looking for games that finish with more than 1 goal. So we're going to scroll down to the end again, tab down to the end, and pick up from where we had that formula. And we have that very handy column here, which is the actual total goals. Don't forget to lock it in. I was talking about it and I didn't do it. And we want to say is greater than 0. Now, as I said, that should be 100%. We can copy this across because it's fixed. So 100% of games that were 1-0 after 30 minutes finish with over 0.5 goals. Who knew? We can drag this across, and all you need to do is change this end one. It's greater than 1, and we can do it all the way across here quite quickly. Greater than 2, greater than 3, and greater than 4. And again, with these, you can drag these across. So you can quite quickly see here that actually, look at that, bang on 50% of games in the English Premier League where the score was 1-0 at 30-minute mark, where the bookmaker average odds were evens to 2.6. 40 games finished with over 2.5 goals, 40 finished with under. Now, obviously, you could do the inverse of this to do the unders. Or both teams to score, whatever your criteria is. We have the both teams to score odds in here, so you can see and use those quite easily as well if that's the angle you wanted to look at. We can change this, so if we wanted to put English League 1, change that to E2. You can see here that that's dropped slightly. Let's just have a look at it for English League 1, or Championship, sorry, so even lower, suggesting that there's more goals in that league. And English League 2, also 1.8. Yeah, similar number of games. Let's leave it on that. Now, if you wanted to say what was this, if it was 1-1, and type that in. There you go. You can see 84% of the time. So you've already built up a dynamic. Let's just change that to text actually, so it doesn't confuse a few people. You've already built up a dynamic, the basics of a in-play odds value generator. Basically, you've created a database using our template sheet, which is already there for you. Little bit of manipulation, took what, 5-10 minutes. Create your defaults, your controls if you like here, which are all in yellow. can set these, you can change them, and once you have them in place, your formula will update accordingly. Like I said, you can use pivot tables if you'd rather do it that way, but that's a very simple, straightforward way, and I hope that benefits not just the people who have been asking this question, because we've had a few of those, but other people have wondered, I wonder how you would even start doing that. 2 outputs, very simple, bit of manipulation, away you go.